What's going on, people? This is the Sports Counterpoints podcast. It is February the 13th, 2024. I'm GB with Brian and Coop. We back at it again, guys.
Here we are.
Yeah, real quiet and somber tones up here. Man, all I was thinking was Jay-Z, man. Like, what did he say? They made Rolex diamonds, man.
Right, exactly.
Where the platinum Hummer at?
Right.
Yeah, it got a little
ice
hectic,
with the platinum under that. Yeah,
right.
No doubt.
Right. So we talking about the Super Bowl, of course, from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas and all its festivities. A little bit of talk about the MVP and the end of season awards for the NFL, because Brian wanted to speak on that and his record in picking some awards, and then a little bit about golf too, man. I don't know if you heard about this, Coop, but they wilding out there. So let's start with the Super Bowl, man.
No, wait. I gotta interrupt you. I gotta start off with a shot. I was supposed to do this 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, do it.
So I gotta get my shot in.
Yep, do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that was a little bet. Real salve on yours. Yep. So go ahead. Yep, that's probably good to take that. Get that back. Mm-hmm. Brian, this ain't about you.
This is a good time while you're finishing sipping that down to pat myself on the back for getting every pick I made last week. Right. That's Coach MVP and Casey in the unders. Now the unders got a little closer than I would have liked it. At 47 for 47 and a half. The whole bunch of people who started at 47 and then closed at 46 and a half. So Vegas was fooling with people this weekend.
You know what's up?
All right, Jason, you got it all down there now.
Let me just
say me about me or Brian, man.
Let me just go. Look, I will not argue with anybody. I will not dispute in favor of or against anybody that says anything about my quarterback or team. I really don't care. All I know is this game hurt more than the game that we play against Kansas City. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, you good.
Oh, everything on my computer just cut off.
Oh, yeah, you're probably going to lose you in a second.
Technical difficulties up in here. But, this game hurt a little bit more than a few years ago, mainly because I think the 49ers were still the better team coming in here, but they made so many mistakes in this game that they just didn't deserve to win. You got McCaffrey fumbling, first drive of the game. Good drive going, he fumbles the ball. Trent Williams, he had a false start and holding calls on back-to-back plays. People were talking about Brock Purdy, how would he feel? It was the veterans that was messing up this game. It was a lot of things I didn't understand. Never was it a point that Kittle or Ayuk were matched up in the slot against a linebacker in the pass game. That didn't happen. Our kicker missed another kick. It was an extra point this time. Usually it's a field goal, so he's missed a kick in every single game. Would have been a 4-point game, and Kansas City would have had to score a touchdown to actually win, which they probably still would have got the way our defense was being called. Kyle Shanahan, his money quarters are the first and third quarters. That's the quarters he's supposed to, do his thing with his scripted plays. 49ers didn't score any points in any of those quarters. They scored in the second and fourth quarter. You had that punt return, that punt that bounced off the player's foot. Casey ended up getting the ball there and ended up getting their first touchdown off of that. They thoroughly outplayed the Chiefs the entire first half and were only up 10-3. And that right there, that I was uneasy about that because you're not going to hold the Chiefs down for too long. Mahomes is going to do something. Kyle Shanahan, he's just unwilling to deviate from his game plan even when it wasn't working. From the mid to late second quarter and third quarter, it seemed like the Spagnuolo, the defense coordinator for Kansas City, knew everything that Shanahan was doing. When he was running, he should have passed. When he was passed, he should have ran. But they were all on it. Chris Jones, I said that when we talked about this game, who will be my X factor is Chris Jones. He was a game wrecker. It looks like the Kyle didn't learn from the first Super Bowl. He knows the offense just as good as probably Kyle Shanahan. And it was one play where Ayuk and Juwan Jennings were open downfield for a touchdown, and Purdy couldn't give him the ball because Chris Jones was unblocked. I don't know how he was unblocked, but he was unblocked. Ended up getting to Purdy where he couldn't even make a throw. That was another game where the starting offensive lineman was out for a play. The backup was in, and the backup let a guy, Spencer Buvert, he let a guy in on Brock Purdy, and there was another guy open downfield that he didn't get to. So you would think, and when you're going through these 2 weeks of practice, that you would make sure that you have a man, especially on Chris Jones. And then when you talk about the pass game, Kelsey seems like he was just open all second half. He had free releases. off the line of scrimmage, never got bumped. I don't understand why Wilkes was paying 8-9 yards off the receivers and giving Mahomes layup throws for second and short, third and short. You got to at least make Kansas City earn it. So I just didn't like the way we played the entire game. It was just a lot of mistakes in this game. And I really don't think, well, we'll talk about that later, but it was a lot of mistakes in this game. And Kyle Shanahan, of course, he has to take blame for some blame for this because he's been the play caller for 3 Super Bowls and he's been outscored 74-29 in the second half and overtime. And that's because of his unwillingness to deviate from his game plan when something's not working. And now he's 0-3, well, 0-2 as a head coach in Super Bowl. So it was just a lot of stuff going on. And I understand 49er fans are talking about, look, KC was the most penalized offensive holding team in the league, and they didn't get, called for any offensive holding penalties. And they're 3-0 in Super Bowls now when they don't get called for offensive holding. I get that, but that's not the reason why they won. And I know that last touchdown play of the game where there was an illegal man downfield, the lineman was downfield, and the 49ers should have won. I get all that, but you're not going to call something like that to decide a Super Bowl. You're just not going to do it. The 49ers should have handled business during the game, and they didn't. Got to give credit to KC. They did what they had to do. They hung around, and when you hang around with a quarterback like Brady or Mahomes, you're going to have a good chance to steal a game, and that's exactly what they did. I understand the mystique of Brady, and I understand the mystique of Holmes. But one thing those teams didn't do, especially those Patriots teams, they didn't beat themselves in these Super Bowl games. They didn't have all these miscues in special teams and, running the ball, fumbling and all that type of stuff like the 49ers did. And I understand the Kansas City, they had a turnover as well, got an interception. The 49ers went 3 and out. The reason why they went 3 and out, because I think there was a linebacker named number 44, number 54, free release on 3rd and 4 to get to Brock Purdy and killed that drive. So just a lot of miscues on offense and defense. I think I said to you guys, the 49ers deserve to lose. They shouldn't win this game. They deserve to lose. Too many mistakes. KC won. And, I'm pretty much over it. We'll talk about the ramifications of this game later. But, Brian, I know I went on for a while. What do you think about this? Maybe because I'm a fan of the team. But
what do you think about the game? Bro. As you should. You'll get your time.
Yeah. Do you? I'm here. Anyways, we talked a lot about this week. I feel like this game kind of went the way that we were discussing it might go, which was, I was talking about how they needed to establish McCaffrey early and often. They needed to get him going, and they did that. And he, 160 yards between rushing and receiving yards. So he was able to make the kind of impact that he needed to put the team in a place to have an opportunity to win. I don't think that the turnovers, while hurtful, were the story of the game because there were 2 on either side. And the KC team put it on the ground 5 times. There's only one that was that you all were able to recover, but 5 times putting the ball on the ground is pretty significant. So there were opportunities where the turnover game on both sides could have made the difference. But ultimately, and this is not meant to be a knock, just a reality, the better coach and the better quarterback found a way to win the game. And when we were talking about this, I said, look, I think this is a field goal game, but if you're going to give me points, I'm absolutely going to take them. And I think that KC would find the way to win going down the stretch. It ended up being a 3-point game, although it was a touchdown that created the 3-point margin. The difference was kind of, you were actually talking about something like this on the 49er side, but the difference was Reed noticed that the game plan was working, even though the results weren't good early, right? They were behind. They kept on turning. They had a turnover. They had the fumble when they got into the red zone. They had the interception. But what Reed, I think, recognized was, hey, we're able to chip this. We're chipping away at them. We're able to hold the ball and control the clock, control the pace of the game, and this is what's going to work in the long term. And he just kind of stuck with it, and the team stuck with it, and Mahomes did Mahomes type stuff. If you would have asked me at the end of the first quarter, if Mahomes was breaking 300 yards passing in this game, I would have said you're out of your damn mind. And yet he was able to he got the 333. Only 30 of that was in overtime. 300 of it was actually in standard time. So I just think that a really outstanding coach in Reed, that's not to take away from Shanahan at all. It's just that's where Reed is at this point. Had an excellent game plan that worked, and he had a quarterback where he could rely on him to continue getting better throughout the game. The fact that they ran the same exact play for the last year to win it, which they call corn dog, I think is just amusing. On the 49ers side, I thought they did a good job of establishing McCaffrey. I thought they did a horrible job of establishing Debo. Maybe that's the problem or the gift and the curse of having so much talent, is that when you work so hard to establish one, it makes it really difficult to establish the other, because they weren't getting Kittle involved. They weren't getting Debo involved early, but it was a lot of McCaffrey, and that was really important. I don't know, did Juwan Jennings win a contest, because he was featured all over the place. He threw for a touchdown. He also received for the touchdown. And I thought Purdy played well throughout the game. There's one thing that I can't not mention, and that is on the last play of they did before they kicked the field goal, Brandon Ayuk was wide open.
Yeah,
wide.
I just talked about that, but Chris Jones got free, and he couldn't get in the ball.
Yeah,
he got free.
He's got to still find him or look to him, and it looked like because of Chris Jones, but he did not. There was no progressions, and he never looked in that general direction.
Well, he didn't have time. Chris Jones got a free release. Nobody blocked him.
Yeah, but all he had to do was literally throw the air. There was literally nobody within 5 yards. He should have seen that.
I don't know. Chris Jones coming at you kind of hard. Because I saw the coach's tape play. I mean, he had a free release. Nobody touched him. Chris Jones coming at you. I don't know.
Understand why normal quarterbacks should be able to say why they couldn't do it. Chris Jones is absolutely a force, and he was wrecking, the game at the line all the way through.
Yeah.
But Super Bowl winning quarterbacks find a way to make time when those types of things happen and find the guy. And if you look on the other side, Patrick Mahomes had to do that a couple times, because the San Francisco defense played really well throughout large chunks of that game. This was not a firefight. This was not a up and back and up and down. These teams had to fight to get the yards they got. But anyways, that's not, like I said, that's not to say that Purdy didn't play really well throughout the entire game. I just think that that's the kind of moment where a Super Bowl winning quarterback finds the way to make the Super Bowl winning play. And this didn't work out for him. We'll talk a minute at what we think about the future. I don't think this says anything bad about the future.
I do, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I was I talked about this earlier. It was great because I didn't want Purdy to be the scapegoat, and he shouldn't be, because he played solid. The whole Niners team, honestly, you guys played pretty solid. It wasn't any you have miscues. I'm agree. The kick was blocked.
The defense second half and OT was not good at all.
Yeah, that's the call. That was the very end.
Glenn, I had no confidence at any point in the second half, fourth quarter overtime, that we can get 4 straight stops.
Yeah,
I had no confidence.
And you're also talking about Mahomes, who's done this.
That has a lot to do with Mahomes.
Yeah, you also
and how we were playing it, because they weren't even. They were. Remember, Kyle Shanahan overrode Steve Wilkes and called a timeout because he had guys 8 yards off of him. I mean, Steve, we'll talk about later.
When I saw that, I was like, I told everybody in the house, I was like, this is the most moronic defense I've seen. And then they called the timeout. I'm like, they saw that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, bro,
what are you doing?
Chimes in with that was one of those, let's think about this again.
Yeah, what are you doing? At least look, I know it's Mahomes. That's my favorite player in the league. He led me to 3 fantasy football titles the last 5 years. Love Mahomes, okay? But the thing is, at least make him work for it. At least don't give him layup throws with 8 yards off, because you give them second and short and third and short, you're going to get killed.
There's a team, the team that actually plays in the stadium that they played in, the Raiders, showed y'all how to do it, just body them. But I was just going to say that I think it's got to come back to the coaching, man. And this is what I was going to be curious about, because the teams played, the defense played well, like Brian said, for most of the game. You could say the end, but
most of the game they did.
You don't get to a 2-minute drill with Mahomes. Everybody in the league is facing that, just like when Brady used to play. There's a good chance they're going to score. I'd say an 85+ chance. It's just how it goes. If he needs a touchdown, a field goal, whatever. My homeboy is a Chiefs fan. I was talking to him. Shout out to homie Dave, was saying he thought it was interesting that y'all took the ball in the overtime too, because now, you get the ball. If you don't score the touchdown, you have the chance. You give him a home.
I wanted to talk
he knows what he needs to do. And he has 4 downs to get a first down. That changes your play calling and affects everything.
But I think that was the right decision.
Given the new playoff rules where both people absolutely get a chance, even if you score a touchdown, you absolutely should want to kick the ball because at least you know what you need to do when you get the ball
exactly
back.
And I totally get that point, but I think our defense was tired and was automatically going to give up a touchdown. So he tried to give up as much rest as they can. Didn't work.
I don't know,
but I think that's the reason.
Man.
That's fair.
Well, even then, one thing that did
defense
strike me about the coaching was that the players have been who got asked said, "Oh, we didn't know that there were new playoff rules," and Shanahan said, "Oh no, we talked about it before the playoffs." I'm leaning on the players here. If the players don't know and are talking about it not knowing, and they weren't doing it to try and throw them under the bus,
right?
It just seemed like the coach, the team as a whole, had not thought through the situation for overtime. Whereas every player they asked on the other side was like, "Oh yeah, we talked about it every week."
But that's because it was created for them.
We're gonna go for 2, etc.
Yeah.
But either way, Coop, to that point that Brian's saying is, if they weren't trying to throw him under the bus, they sure let him up under that mug very calmly. Because that, bro, you got to keep that to yourself. There's no way I'm gonna say, "Oh yeah, coach didn't even tell us they had new overtime
I wouldn't
rules."
say that either. Yeah,
there's no way I'm saying that.
If you look at the videos, they didn't say it as an indictment. They were asked, like, "Did you guys know how?" Well, no, I didn't really know, what was going on. They didn't say like, "Oh, coach didn't tell us." They just said, "No, I didn't know what was going on."
I get it.
Totally understand the implications.
But they explained the rules before the coin toss, so it's like the guy explained the rule.
Everybody, I mean. I just have sports. I'm just on a sports podcast.
Let you guys out,
Yeah, I'm just on a sports podcast. I don't even play. You gotta at least know the rule. And if I don't, I'm definitely not gonna say. I'm not gonna say, "Oh yeah, we never talked about it." I'm just gonna say, the game went how it went. That was, to me, it was too much transparency on that. But
y'all don't pay me nothing, and I still at least learn the rules.
Bro, it's basic, right? So, but I just think I was very interested to get your take on that, Coop, because we could kind of slide to what you guys think it means for the teams, and that. I was curious because Shanahan is going the way of Andy Reid now, where Andy Reid went to all them, NFC championships,
and Super Bowls, 4 or 5 straight.
Yep. I do not think y'all get rid of. To me, it's foolish to get rid of a coach who wants to be there, who has this kind of success.
No.
When you have John Lynch there is building this team, it's stupid. But I know them questions now got to be that because it wasn't the quarterback, it wasn't the running back. It was a combination of plays that would appear to be coaching.
Okay, so Kyle Shanahan, he does have a blind spot there because remember, he didn't do what he was supposed to do in the second half of that Super Bowl when Atlanta either. And they ended up losing that one. So 74-29 in second half and overtime in 3 Super Bowls, that's on Kyle Shanahan. He's the play caller. So he has that blind spot to where he just cannot deviate from his game plan. Like he has scripted plays coming out in the third quarter and first quarter. If they're clearly not working in the third quarter like they weren't, he will not deviate. And what he does that I can't stand is it's a stack box. He'll still call that run play just to see what look the defense gives him, just to do a different play down the line. It's like you're wasting downs. You can't do that against Mahomes. But as far as the aftermath of the 49ers, number one, I think Steve Wilkes is done. Once you get overrode in the Super Bowl and in a playoff game, I think he's done. And plus the defense was never really, clicking this year.
You've been calling for that all year.
Number two, the offensive line. I've been on this for 4 years. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you got to upgrade that offensive line. That offensive line graded out very low, except Trent Williams in this game. You can't be having guys from the practice squad and on rookie deals, and try to make Super Bowls with them every year. I mean, you got to get somebody that knows how to block. And also number three, actually I probably got 2 more points. Number three, they've invested too much money in the defensive line and they're not producing. That was Philly's problem this year.
That's fair.
Most of their money's on the defensive line. If these guys ain't getting to the quarterback, why are you spending all your money on the defensive line? Go spend it elsewhere. I'm just spending on 2 players and then spend it elsewhere, like on the offensive line, because the defensive line ain't kicking like it was a few years ago. And then number 4, I think the 49ers need to shift from trying to be this run-oriented, defensive-oriented team and try to be a more up-tempo, wide receiver-friendly offense, because Ayuk getting 3 catches, Debo only in the backfield, Kittle maybe 1 catch. Even though he had that toe injury, you could still scheme him open for a few more catches.
He's done it before.
Not going to work. Yeah, that's not going to work against Kansas City. When you're playing against a Mahomes or when you was playing against a Brady, you got to take the game to them. You just can't sit there and try to hold on to a lead and then hope your defense, can stop them. That's not the way. Yes, when we kicking field goals, that's a win for the KC defense. You kick 2 field goals, they make a touchdown, they're winning the game. So
I've seen it for years.
And then for KC side, they're just going to build from here, man. Nobody beat them this year. I'm talking about in the playoffs. Nobody beat them this year. And this is not really the KC that we've known of old. And so they're probably going to get Mike Evans and probably replace those tackles, and they're going to be even better this year. The only thing that's probably going to stop them is injuries. So, you know, KC is just KC, man. They're a dynasty, and I get all that. I'm not blaming anything on referees. I just think the 49ers really blew this game, and they had opportunities. B, what do you think the aftermath is for both teams here?
So I agree with you on Wilkes. I think all season you've been pointing out that the team hasn't been as crisp, and they are putting a lot of energy in to put that team together. But I also don't know exactly where they're going to go. And so they need somebody who can be dropped in and put them in a situation to actually win right now. That's tough to find because they are in a win a Super Bowl or the season was for nothing kind of situation, just because they've had so much success so consistently. And, you know, let's not knock the fact that they were a 12-5 team throughout the entire season.
Great season.
That's a good,
great season.
That's a great season by almost any standard.
Absolutely.
They were playing really well. Where I disagree with you though is, and this has to do with my belief, the level of belief I have in Purdy.
Mm-hmm.
I do not think that they should be changing the offensive game plan. I understand that it is a more pass happy league, but they have made it to the playoffs because the playoffs in the Super Bowl because they were riding the folks like McCaffrey or Mitchell or, you know, whoever the running backs have been. That has worked and it has got them there. And I just don't think Purdy is ready yet to be a 45, 50 pass a game guy like Purdy, like you can do with a Mahomes and just have him chuck. He has not shown at any point that he's ready to do that. And that's not a knock. That's just saying
No, I get your point.
He's been strong.
I get your point.
And you know, the problem has never been getting to a Super Bowl. Like they have an offense that works to get that done and accomplish and all that kind of stuff. I think where they need to make the change is how they coach the offense in the game. And because if they went into halftime and made an adjustment and said, man, we've really established McCaffrey, they're backpedaling. We know that this is going to work. We know that they're going to start keying on stopping McCaffrey, which is exactly what Kansas City did in the second half, right? They just we're overloading. We're going to start taking advantage of them putting too much pressure on McCaffrey and go to Kittle and try and get quick outs and space for Ayuk and let them make plays, right? But they didn't do that. And I think that was the problem. And Purdy's great at those types of things, right? Like, you know, passing across the middle and short outrights and crossing routes for Kittle. He can do that. He doesn't have to go crazy up the field. He can do that every once in a while. And Ayuk getting him in space and letting Ayuk, you know, be fast, which is what he's great at. I think they can do that. But if they try to start the whole game and become a pass-centric offense, I think that doesn't work for them. I think what they should do is keep it what they've got, but make the adjustments when the adjustments need to be made.
Yeah, so I hear what you're saying, but I don't think McCaffrey's going to hold up next season. He's still going to be on the team, and it's only going to be a $14 million game, but I don't think he's going to hold up. So
that's fair.
And the 49ers are favorites to make the Super Bowl next year. I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl next year. I think this loss is so deflating for this team. People talk about Super Bowl hangover.
Hangover is real.
Right. But see, I don't believe it's a hangover. So this is what I believe, Brian. I believe sometimes you have a veteran team like this, and the reason why they don't make it the next year is because they put everything they could and health willing.
Sure.
They were healthy. And I don't think it's going to happen next year. And like, let's just take a team, or you could be a team like Philly. Philly had an easy schedule and rolled that whole thing to the Super Bowl. Of course, this year they didn't have an easy schedule, so they didn't make it. So I don't think it's actually a Super Bowl hangover. I think it's the schedules, injuries, stuff like that.
Hangover doesn't have to mean one thing. It just has to mean that the next season isn't get filled with the same opportunities.
Right, doesn't line up.
You're either playing a first place schedule.
Right.
I think with Kansas City and San Francisco, they're going to have to worry about cap space and cap issues and things like that because they put all that in to get those guys on the defensive line. Yeah. But like Chase Young is not going to be broke for long. He's gonna figure it out. Whatever that looks like, I do think that it's really, really hard to get back to Super Bowls.
Right.
Year after year, because teams also construct their teams differently now. It used to when you saw the teams that Brady had, everyone was on year 2 of a 4-year deal.
Yeah.
And so they had guys locked in for a long time. Everyone is in the last year, the second to last year of their deal.
Yeah.
And so you have so much turnover on the team where you've got to figure out how to replace 15 guys. Whereas when the Patriots were doing it, you had to figure out how to replace 3 key guys.
And the thing about the Patriots is they always kept the key guys and kept rotating other guys. Like Antoine Swift was the running back for the first couple of Super Bowls, and they got Corey Dillon. Then they got somebody else. So they always kept the core guys there.
They figured out which positions they didn't need the top guys, and they put it out there. But in the 49ers case and in Kansas City's case, there's a lot of important spots that come up at the same time.
Yeah.
The reason why I think KC's got a real problem next year is because that cap hit keeps on getting bigger. And I don't know how they're going to go out there and get veteran wide receivers to
they play on the vet men.
Like it's they're going to have to develop Rashee Rice and those other guys and maybe strike a deal with somebody on their last year. And
well, you're not going to have Kittle. You're not going to have Kelsey forever either. So that's going to affect that team.
3 more years.
Max.
Man, you guys don't know how frustrating that was. It's like a simple punt return. The punt returner saying, back away. This guy is still blocking in the area of the punt return, and it goes off his foot. It's like you just don't see stuff like that.
And then he didn't get down on it.
Yes, it's like you just don't see that type of stuff with the Patriots, with Kansas City. You don't see that type. When the Patriots had the dynasty, you just didn't see that. You just didn't see it. It was like so many damn mistakes.
You can't afford extra possessions in a game of that magnitude.
You just
not in scoring position.
And all these false starts we had. Every time we had one of them false starts and was in 2nd and 15 or 2nd and 20, whatever, we never got a first down. We never did. It's just like you just can't beat yourself like that. And that's one thing Bill Belichick was always great at. Them Patriot teams never beat themselves. You had to actually beat them because they weren't beating themselves. And we didn't give Kansas City the opportunity to actually beat us because we were beating ourselves, and they end up winning in ends. They should have won the game. I'll tell that to anybody. They should have won.
Yeah,
we made mistakes. Yeah.
What do you guys?
So I'm looking at the cap space situation for next season, and it's really not that bad for either of these teams. So Kansas City has $22 million in cap, $22.6 million, with 43 players signed. So they've got some work to do. And San Francisco has $570,000 with 44 players assigned. They got a little bit more work to do, right? San Francisco is going to have to cut some players. I think that guy's probably like a Chase Young or something like that.
Yeah.
Just imagine, though, if you were the New Orleans Saints, which are over the cap by $82 million,
crazy,
with 55 players signed, and they suck.
right. Yeah, that's like the Bears a couple years ago. Like, how are you that bad? And you're like over the cap all this money. Yeah. Like, what are you doing? Yeah.
What'd you guys think about the Super Bowl in Vegas in general? Like Vegas as a Super Bowl venue from what you saw?
So I know some people who live in Vegas and who were kind of there in the mix. The locals absolutely freaking hated it. The traffic was horrible. Everything was locked down, and that you could not get anywhere and move around. But the people who came to visit all loved it because there's so much to do. There's tons of hotels. There's restaurants. There's bars. There's entertainment all over the place.
It's Vegas.
There was free stuff going on everywhere. People were telling me that, like, you could go to any casino. It didn't matter which one. You could go to the Rio, which is horrible, and there'd be some Super Bowl related event going on. By the way, on a Super Bowl weekend, the Rio, we're still selling rooms for less than $50 a night. Like, it's just, that's how bad that place is.
Yeah.
But anyways, they just had a lot going on. And so for that reason, like, I get why it's an attractive destination. I get why.
And you've been in the stadium too.
Well, huh?
And you've been in the stadium too.
Yeah, I've been in the stadium. There were some people who were like, oh, well, it's the greatest stadium in the league. It is not. It is not the greatest stadium in the league, but it is a very, very nice stadium. And it is in a city that is built to have massive amounts of people, whether it's for conventions or concerts or entertainment or football or soon to be baseball or whatever. So it's a great location to keep in rotation.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I hear. Yeah.
I need to go back to Miami's antiquated stadium anytime soon.
Yeah, I think Vegas, I think the Super Bowl should only be in maybe 3 or 4 places, and I think Vegas should be one of them. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't. Yeah, SoFi. I would think Miami has to be in one, two, and New Orleans probably. I think those probably the 4 stadiums. But oh man, actually Jerry World too in Dallas, because that's a nice stadium.
Except for it was frozen the one time they did have it there.
You're right about that. But having a Super Bowl in Vegas, I mean, I know a lot of people having fun. I know I don't really know too much except from the people who went down there, and they said it was a lot of fun tailgating, having fun. I have no problem if Vegas is in the rotation for Super Bowls.
49er City there.
Yeah, it didn't really matter, did it? But yeah, I don't really have an opinion. I would think if I have a choice between maybe a Jacksonville or Indianapolis or something like that in Las Vegas, I'm taking Las Vegas all day. It should be in the rotation because it's Las Vegas. I don't think, unfortunately, the NFL likes to give the Super Bowl to give everybody a chance, and I don't feel you should give everybody a chance for that.
They give everybody one chance when they get a new stadium, which is fair, it helps them pay for some of it, and
which is fine. Part. But when you guys,
and so like Minnesota got their time for this stadium, I don't imagine they're going to do it ever again.
Right.
Yeah.
With this stadium until the next stadium.
I'm okay with the new stadium, but with these people putting in their bids, talking about give us a chance to host it. No, you don't need a chance. No, I'm sorry. I mean, Jacksonville, they have people on boats. You know what I mean? Because they didn't have enough rooms. You know what I'm saying? There's no reason for them to have a stadium.
I feel like Santa Clara is one of those too, because of the way the Bay Area is spread out. If you go to the Super Bowl here, where are you going to go afterwards? If you're in Vegas, you just walk across the street. You go in LA, you still got to travel.
I don't think Santa Clara really works as a Super Bowl destination for a myriad of reasons. But the one thing I will say is the cost. It was the most expensive Super Bowl. And it's not just like annual increases. Yeah. It was damn near, in some cases,
it was crazy.
Double. Yeah. And that was because it's such an attractive destination for money that you had billionaires who were having to get dropped off on their airplanes and then flown to St. George, Utah, because they couldn't park any planes in Las Vegas. You had, and the cost of everything went up so dramatically. People were paying the cheap seats right before kickoff. Were going for $3,500 to have your back against the back wall, right? Like that kind of price. I do wish they'd find a way to make it more accessible. Put some seats out there for public consumption that can't be moved or traded or any of those types of things, which they have ways of doing now.
You can watch right on TV.
Yeah, it was the most expensive and the most watched.
Right. Because I would be disappointed if the Vikings went to a Super Bowl that was that would happen to be in Vegas. I would not have gone.
Yeah.
And I've always told myself, I'd go to a Super Bowl that the Vikings were in. But it's completely unreachable.
I'm about to say we can go.
Yeah.
And do one of the watch parties.
Go. Right. Yeah.
But why?
Yeah, I know.
If I'm not going to be in the stadium,
I thought it was going to be too much pandemonium. So I was like, this first one, I'm cool. I didn't want to be involved. It looked nice. It looked like they had it together, but it's, especially if you've been to Vegas a few times, which we all have. And I'm cool. I'm fine to go on a regular Sunday when my team is playing. So overall it was a good game though. Like it was very entertaining.
Good game.
If you weren't a fan of both teams, it was a good game.
I was not. I knew it was going to overtime. I was sitting with my homie Raymond, who's a Niner fan. I was like, y'all, it's going to overtime, right?
I knew it was going to overtime when he missed that kick and it went to 3 points.
I saw it. It just was lining up for that. It's if you want to follow the conspiracy and the script exactly, like
I don't believe in those.
I don't either.
Stuff. I don't believe
it'd be hard to get too many people to do it, but
people like it's scripted, right? I'm like, no, players mess up. Teams mess up. That's what happened. And the 49ers was the team that messed up the most, and that's why they lost. Nothing that to do with the script.
Like, this is what the NFL wanted. Those 49er players who were throwing Shanahan under the bus, as you guys were mentioning, would have also thrown the league under the bus if the script was for them to lose.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And for people who don't understand, who talking about Vegas, most of the money was on Kansas City. So Vegas would have liked the 49ers to win that game.
Most of the sharp money was on Kansas City. There were more bets on San Francisco for smaller dollar amounts.
No, it was for smaller dollars. Yeah, most of the money, though, 71% of the money was on Kansas City.
The sharp money, the money was on big bets, huge bets. But the 5 largest bets in Vegas were all San Francisco 49er bets.
Except
$1 million 49ers bet.
No.
800.
What's that? What's that?
No, what's that famous and ESPN bets came out with that stat today, I think it was.
No, what's that famous better name? Damn, I forgot his name. He's the most
Phil
famous
Mickelson?
better. No. In fact, I forgot his name, but he said he was putting his money on Kansas City. He said he's betting between 500,000 and 1 million on Kansas City.
He must have been at the 500 because the 5 largest bets, they were talking about it on sports betting websites, were all in the 49ers, 1 million. And, anyways, but like I said, there was a larger number because it was so many 49er fans there.
Yeah,
we're all on the 49ers, but the sharp money was on KC.
How the hell did I forget his damn name?
What does sharp money mean?
Sharp means the experienced bettors who actually
professional bettors.
Yeah. Got it.
The people who actually move the line.
Billy Walters, that's his name. Billy Walters.
Oh yeah. He's with Mickelson.
Yes, he bet.
That was the guy who did the job with Mickelson.
Yeah,
but so there's Jason, Glenn. Those are the guys who move the line. So when sharp money bets big on one side of it, that's when you start seeing it go from 47.5 to 46.5. Because if they're betting the under, they want to figure out where the equilibrium is.
Yeah. So probably the best football bettor in the world. His name is Steve Fezzik. He bet on the Chiefs, and then Billy Waters is a known bettor, and he bet on the Chiefs as well.
Yeah. So it's hard to bet against them.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, this is what they do for a living. This is, it's what they do, how they make their bread. And they put thousands of dollars on these games, and that's what they had, Kansas City, and they ended up winning.
I'll lose. So, all right. And then, I don't think you guys change anything. It's gonna be a tougher road, but I mean, you got to see your team playing big games. I have not. So, I mean, is it better to see your team lose in the big game, or would you not be in the? Would you
No,
be going out early?
It's like, man, let me tell you something. When I had an interview for a job about 10, 12 years ago, and dude asked me, he said, would you rather win by 20, win by 1, or lose by 1? And I said, if it's not a championship game, I'd rather lose by 1. And he was surprised. He paused. He said, what? He said, really, why? I said, because losing brings clarity. If you have a blowout, you probably played against an overmatched opponent. If you win by 1, you most likely not going to go back and review your mistakes. But if you lose by 1, you're going to start thinking, man, if I made that free throw, if we wouldn't have missed that 3-pointer, if we would have made this play, did that play, you would do some self-reflecting if you lose by 1. That's why I'd rather lose by 1. But in this particular case, I'd rather get blown out so I can check out in the damn first, second quarter, then go all the way through midway, third and fourth quarter and be like, I know we're going to lose.
You all the way to the end.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And to lose. And it's just like, no, let me lose early, Glenn, so I can get my boohooing out the way. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, I don't know. That's just me, how I feel. A lot of people would rather, I don't want to be the Buffalo Bills, Brian and Glenn. I don't want to be I don't want to go 4 straight and lose 4 straight. You know what I'm saying?
I saw a graphic that said y'all lost like the last 7 postseason appearances were all like NFC championships or Super Bowls.
So yeah, right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Real talk.
Harbaugh would get there, didn't make it against Super Bowl. Shanahan, like, damn, that's tough.
Yeah. But it's cool to have that success, but you don't seal the deal. I'm a seal the deal type of guy. I remember I was telling my sons, every second place trophy, I only won 3 or 4 of them. I didn't even take them. I don't want them because this is a reminder you didn't get the job done. I only have the first place trophies. That's all I want. And don't ask me to be in no consolation game. I will beat you. I ain't about to be in no third place game. Come on, man.
I feel you.
It's all about first. You know what I mean?
Funny. I've been in so many of those in fantasy, and it's like whatever. Whoever's in there.
So you couldn't be a Clippers fan.
Damn. Got him.
Come on, man. Yeah, but that's just my personal feeling, man. It's either first or nothing. To me, this season it's a failure to me, man. Seriously.
Yeah.
I thought we had the
you
best
guys are in the 49ers are in that kind of rarefied air.
I was gonna say
where it's Super Bowl win or bust because that's the expectations you have.
Yeah.
For other teams, there is moral victories, pyrrhic victories, whatever you want, but not for
the Lions. The Lions should feel like that. Let the Vikings get there. Let the Raiders get to the AFC Championship game, bro. I'm juiced.
Yeah, I hear you.
Now you do it 7 years in a row. You're like, all right,
come on, bro. right.
Y'all gotta win.
Come on, player.
Time to jump over the.
I'm gonna have a different tone next season when we do football games. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Ryan did say beginning of the year. I thought he was hating. He was like, "There's no chance the Niners can win a Super Bowl." I was like, "Damn, how can you be positive?" Well,
they didn't win
out that way. Yeah,
they didn't win. Yeah,
and they've been a great team all season long, but there was literally no chance that.
Well, when you call a game like that, it ain't gonna happen. I know that for sure.
Another season, Coop's team got farther than our teams every year, though. So we'll see when we get to the preview next year.
Pedo down. You see, I got my Laker hat on. I'm already over it.
I was watching Antonio Pierce interview today. He's like, "There's one winner and 31 losers." So
yeah, well, yeah,
yeah, true that, bro. So
and we won the losers. Don't matter what the record is.
we in there, just the last one.
Yep.
So all right, I don't know if y'all got any last thoughts.
I'm
Season
good.
is over, man. That's it. No more
Yeah, I
football
know.
till.
Well, are we going to talk about the awards real quick, or?
Yeah,
Let's talk about the awards. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, cool. So, congratulations to Lamar Jackson. All season long, I've been saying that I really think that Lamar Jackson was going to win and that this new offense was going to give him an opportunity and all that kind of stuff. So congratulations to him on a great season. We were talking about where we put McCaffrey, and I said, I hope McCaffrey at least gets on the podium, right? It's top 3.
Yeah.
Because I think he deserves it. I mean, if there was ever a year to give it to a non-quarterback, this was a year. And I thought McCaffrey was the guy. And he did all the things that he should be able to do to get to that point. Obviously that didn't happen, but I did at least like the fact that he got the 3rd place. But what the hell is up with Dak? Like, when did he become so close, so good that he was 2nd place in the MVP conversation? He should have been an also mentioned, but I don't know, Jason, what you think on that.
Well, I can tell you about Dak because remember he played that stretch of games against 7 bad teams and he was putting up numbers and that put him in the conversation. He wasn't playing against good teams. It was the Carolinas and all these other teams he was putting up them stats for, and he ended up being in the conversation because he's Dallas Cowboys quarterback. Lamar Jackson, I mean, I'll have a problem. I don't have a problem with any of the awards. I don't. MVP awards, it's subjective if they like you or blah, 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 if it's your year, blah, blah, blah. I just can't agree with the Lamar Jackson one because if you can't throw for 30 touchdowns in this era of football, I can't take you seriously as a quarterback for MVP. The rules are slated where everybody's throwing for 30 touchdowns in a year. He threw for 24, and this was supposed to be some type of revamped
Doesn't matter
offense.
how many you throw for, just how many you score.
Can't take
6 points whether you run it in or throw it in.
Can't take you seriously for quarterback award. It's not a running back award. It's a quarterback award. And I look at throwing, not running.
It's not a quarterback. It's an MVP award.
MVP award. And he plays quarterback.
Most points scored are important. Anyways.
24 touchdowns. Revamped offense where he's supposed to show off his passing skills. He has 24 touchdowns.
He absolutely deserved it this year. If it wasn't going to go to McCaffrey, I'll continue to put that asterisk on there.
Yeah.
And they just will not give it to a running back.
They will not give it to a running back. It should have been McCaffrey. But yeah, I mean, he won it. I mean, I'm not going to argue vehemently about its MVP award. I really don't care about it. But he won it. But the other awards, though, Kevin Stefanski, Coach of the Year. You're right about that. I would have picked the Detroit Lions coach, but I had Stefanski in second. I have no problem with Stefanski winning the award. I mean, deserved it. I mean, he had like a 50-year-old quarterback who won Comeback Player of the Year and did his thing with him. Won 11 games. No problem at all.
I think that was the difference. It's just that he had to make all of those adjustments mid-season. That's tough to do. And it was a bunch of them. Like we've almost forgotten that Chubb went out almost at the beginning of the season and how great he is. And 2 quarterbacks went down before taking Flacco out of mothballs and riding a very successful wave as a quarterback.
Yeah. Yep. Well, my vote, Myles Garrett, Defensive Player of the Year. Wish he didn't miss any games. I would have had him as MVP. Myles Garrett is just a beast, man. So he definitely deserves that award. And CJ Stroud for Offensive Rookie. Now, I don't think there's any dispute for any one of those guys right there. They should have won those awards. Other than that, it was a lot of awards, Brian. I didn't know it was this many awards. You got Don.
There's a ton of them. Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year,
ground player, assistant coach Jim Schwartz.
Yeah,
good for him.
Well, once they created a show for it, it used to be that they'd start trickling out the newspaper that week. Mm-hmm. Once they created an event around it,
you need more
that they had to get 2 hours in of giving out awards. So right, so they threw some other ones in the mix. Yeah,
but here's one award,
assistant to the coach.
Right. Right. But I didn't know they had our Angry Run of the Year award. But to Najee Harris.
Until they started putting it on a TV show.
Yeah, to Najee Harris. I did not know that was even an award, the Angry Run of the Year. But whatever. Okay. Give somebody some shine. Yeah.
So like last little segment we talk about, I just wanted Brian mentioned it, which is a pretty good one. I don't know if you pay attention to any golf, but the Phoenix Open.
Oh, wait. I don't mean to cut you off. Do you want to talk about some of the Hall of Fame nominees, Brian? I'll just throw out a name and you just be like yay or nay or something.
The only thing I'm going to say is I don't understand why Devin Hester got in.
Oh, I do. But go ahead.
Yeah, he was a beast.
He was the best returner ever, man. That dude.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he was a good receiver because he wasn't. But as
Yeah,
far
He
as
was a
returning,
quarterback, though.
Yeah,
He was
you kicked
also
the
a
ball to him.
quarterback. Anyways,
yeah, he wasn't a corner.
I
He
just
was
feel
listed
like
as
there's
one.
because he goes in as a wide receiver / cornerback, not as a returner. They don't put that as a position. It's because that's what he did, and that's why
Right.
he's in.
Oh, he
Yeah.
went in as a
But
wide receiver. Or corner. I didn't know
wide
that.
receiver corner.
Wow.
That's his position.
It
Right.
should say PR.
And
Yeah.
there's a backlog of really great wide receivers
Right.
who
It
should
should
get in
say,
for being wide receivers.
like
before
Torrey
they-
Holt. Yeah, I get you.
Like Torrey Holt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Torrey
Yeah.
Holt's a good receiver.
But
Okay.
anyway,
Didn't
that
know
was
that.
my only thought when I saw it.
Okay. I'm happy Andre Johnson got in another University of Miami player.
You.
Really
Yeah.
good. Yep.
Yeah. We
All
can
right.
talk about it more going
We're good.
forward. Just this one, I don't think will take us long.
Yeah, I'm
Phoenix
good.
Open, Waste Management Open. It's known for being the rowdiest of the PGA Tour stops. Thousands of people everywhere. Everybody's kind of perking and loud and throwing. This is the tournament where you hit the green or hit a hole in one on 17, I think it is. People are throwing drinks up and going crazy. They actually stopped selling alcohol this year
Mm.
On
during
Saturday.
the tournament, based on from what I heard from some, and I don't know, it was TikTok or something, but dude was saying at some point it was just the gates were so flooded, people just started flooding in. They stopped checking tickets. They overrun the VIP areas. They overrun all the areas, and they're just some are drinking for free, some are buying drinks, and it just got out of hand. So they shut them down. And if you look at any videos of it, Coop, on Instagram, it's just people belligerently drunk, falling over, slipping down the course. I don't know how that course can even be playable for weeks after, but
Well, yeah. So Arizona gets about 5 to 7 inches of rain a year, and it got 1.5 inches in the week leading up to and including the tournament. And so this is as much water as that course is ever going to see at one point in time. And so they were talking about some of the logistics. I was reading an article on one of the websites, and it was talking about how there's usually no problem with people going off the path. So if you've ever been on a golf course, cart paths and stuff like that, people walk on that. But when you have tournaments, that's not enough space, and people can walk on the grass and go to other places. But because of the rain, it was super slippery, super muddy. It's a desert course, so it's mostly made to be dirty, sandy, and so you add a lot of water to that, and it just becomes mud puddles. But add that problem to people just progressively every year acting more and more an ass, and being disrespectful and jumping in the middle of while people are on the green, jumping in and doing snow angels in the sand traps, to get on TV, or throwing random bottles at people and stuff like that. I actually don't agree with Zach Johnson and his whining, but it was just a lot. And as I was watching it, I was actually at my country club and getting ready to play golf. Some folks were showing videos, and if it gets to the point where you can't play the game the same way, you've exceeded the threshold of crazy that should be allowed.
Yeah.
And it was unfortunate. So they're going to make a bunch of changes. I think the easiest change to make is just reduce. Don't try and put restrictions and say you're not going to sell this alcohol. Just reduce the places where you can get alcohol. That increases the lines, which makes people drink less because people don't want to wait in lines. And so if you condense it that way, you can almost get away with not having to say, hey, we're only going to sell people 2-3 drinks, because there's easy ways to get around that. Just make lines longer. People don't want to wait in line for 30 minutes to get a beer. So they're going to buy their 2 beers, enjoy their 2 beers, and then that's about the extent of it.
Did you want to talk about Riv?
Well, there's some other good news. So Riv is this week. It's always the week of Valentine's.
So it's the Genesis,
Tigers playing
the Genesis Invitational, right, for at Riviera Country Club?
Yeah. And so that's here in Los Angeles. Buell course, I had played a nice round there once. But this is Tiger's first tournament of the year, which is going to be cool. And then he's rocking the new threads. So as many had mentioned, he broke his deal with Nike, and then almost immediately TaylorMade was doing a registration of a new logo, and it turns out that logo is for the new Sunday Red. It's Sun Space Day Space Red, which is Tiger's new clothing line, which is done as a partnership 50-50 with TaylorMade. That should be really interesting. The logo is a tiger that is broken into 15 pieces because he has won 15 majors. So one of the questions he was asked was, what happens when you win the 16th? He's like, we're probably going to have to redo that logo. But I thought that was pretty interesting. I thought it was a clever way to build a tiger with 15 different pieces to make the logo for his new clothing line.
Yep. So word, a little bit of golf news. So yeah, that's our show for today. Thanks, B, for the golf setup. Coop, we can if you want to talk more Hall of Fame, we could do that.
No, I'm
next
good.
week if there's anybody else.
I'm good.
Last segments, man. In it to win it in Hogwash. I don't have a Hogwash.
Just want to forget that football game even happened. Yeah, I have nothing.
Hogwash. B.
Yeah, you know what? I really don't have much to say. That's kind of hogwash right now. No, I'm gonna let this one go. It's been a relatively nice week.
I heard that. In a minute to win it, I just want to thank everybody for listening. Sorry to see football go, but this is one of the most exciting off seasons I've had in a while. So we'll see what happens in basketball. What about y'all?
Yeah, same here. I don't want to talk football. Go ahead, B.
Straight up.
No, the only good news that I'm kind of proud to share is that so Josie Johnson, my grandfather's fiance, you've heard me talk about him, but I think of her as my grandmother. She just had a public access piece done on her, actual like video documentary. So she has a book out there, and now she has also got a public access documentary about her. It's so amazing. She said so many amazing things, and brought and done so much for minorities, both women and racial minorities, and it's just pretty cool to see that she's now got books written about her, books that she has written, and now documentaries out there. So if you run across anything related to Josie Johnson, I suggest you take a look. She's pretty awesome.
Word. Perfect way to end it.
All good.
Thanks to everybody for checking us out. The Sports Counterpoints. We'll check y'all out next time. Peace.